Hello, and welcome to this webinar, Audiobooks in the Classroom. Before we begin, we will discuss the purpose and objectives of this webinar. Its purpose is to inform librarians about the uses of audiobooks in the classroom and how they can be incorporated into various engaging literature-based activities. Throughout the webinar, teacher librarians will explore the benefits of using audiobooks in the classroom to enhance instruction. Teacher librarians will be exposed to literacy-based strategies that incorporate the use of audiobooks in the classroom. And lastly, teacher librarians will be provided with resources to help them design engaging lessons that incorporate audiobooks. Throughout this webinar, you will be exposed to reasons why teens and young adults look forward to using audiobooks. You will see benefits of using audiobooks in the classroom, and you will see how to gain those benefits through various activities and audiences that you can reach. Before we dive in, we need to discuss what is an audiobook. An audiobook is an electronic source of a novel. It is one that readers listen to. Audiobooks come in various forms. You can find them on cassette, on CD. You can download them. Various outlets provide access to audiobooks. You can find audiobooks of children's literature, young adult, nonfiction, various genres. Millions of audiobooks are available to listeners all around the world. To give you a tasting of an audiobook sample, I have chosen Monster. Monster is a young adult novel written by Walter Dean Myers. It won a Prince Award in 1999. Monster is a book that takes place in Harlem. Monster is different from other novels as it is not written in your typical narrative format. Monster is written as a full cast dramatization. When flipping through the actual book, you would see it as a screenplay. The audiobook version of this novel has a full cast. This audiobook sampling was provided by Audible. Audible is a resource that you will hear about again at the end of this webinar. But I would like you to take a second and listen. Here is a sampling of Monster. That was a sampling of Monster. Many people say that audiobooks engage readers through various narrators. In most instances, an audiobook only has one reader, but readers are often engaging. Some might ask themselves, do young adults listen to audiobooks? It has been found that in the United States, audiobook sales have increased by 22% since 2013. While those sales may be increasing, it is not the young adults that are purchasing them, as young adult consumers prefer to borrow them from the library. Many download them as well. Audiobooks are becoming more regularly used in classrooms. And not only that, they are being used successfully. Why do teens listen to audiobooks? In his book, Literature and the Young Adult Reader. He sat down with a small group of young adults and asked, Why do you listen to audiobooks? Some of the statements they made was that learning is made more exciting through narration. The embarrassment is removed from not having to read aloud in class. Different voices keep listeners' attention and help concentration levels. Some say that listening is easier than reading. Some even enjoy the shared experience of two or more listening together and then discussing. Bond gives an anecdote of a mother and a daughter both listening to the same audiobook and discussing it. It was a way that they were able to bond. Teens are listening. It's our job to take hold of that, to use it to our benefit in the classroom. Are there educational benefits of teen audiobook listening? Yes. Audiobook listening can increase vocabulary skills, engage imagination by allowing teens to create mental images of the story. It removes the stigma of lower reading levels or uncool genres. It keeps teens informed of popular books or latest releases from favorite authors. Speaking and writing skills are improved. Storytelling can be introduced as an important tradition in human history. Some even say that it makes mundane yet necessary tasks more tolerable. And not only that, listening is an important step for becoming a lifelong reader. An educator might ask, how can I use audiobooks in the classroom? There are numerous ways. One area in the classroom that can be addressed with audiobooks is fluency. With audiobooks, fluency can be modeled. Students can follow along in the book itself while listening. You could even set up an audiobook as a listening station. It is said that teens recognize that they comprehend more about a book when reading and listening, rather than when they do either task in isolation. Giving students the opportunity to have fluent sentences read to them in a narrative or a novel is a wonderful experience. Students don't always have the opportunity to be read to. It is more common in elementary school to have books read aloud than in middle or high. Audiobooks give students the opportunity to hear well-read stories outside of the classroom as well as in the classroom. The teacher is not always available to provide examples. With audiobooks, students can be given the opportunity to follow along while they listen to someone clearly speak the words on the pages. Students can do this independently and or in small groups. It all depends on how you set it up in your classroom. Student needs and disabilities can also be addressed with audiobooks. English language learners can benefit through audiobook. Most English language learners do not come from a household where many people speak English. By having the opportunity for them to listen to a fluent English narrator with an audiobook gives them freedom to have so much more exposure outside of school. Some audiobooks are even available in their own language. That could also be beneficial as well. The student could draw parallels between the two, compare the structures, break down the words in English. Vision impaired students can also benefit from audiobooks. Vision impaired students often don't have access to large print books in their library. Audiobooks can help change their exposure. Physical disabilities can be addressed if a student is incapable of picking a book up off the shelf, of turning the pages. An audiobook can open a whole new world. The student can listen. The student can be immersed in the story. Student listening comprehension is often beyond what they understand in print. Giving them the opportunity to have access to audiobooks is endless. Another great way audiobooks can be used in the classroom is to help with differentiation. It allows for student choice. You can touch on various reading levels, and it allows for book variation. This goes closely with literature circles, where students are given the opportunity to choose what book they would like to read, in this case listen to, and they work in small groups. By having access to different audiobooks, students have an entire library at their fingertips. Students can choose what book they read. Similar to what we read at the beginning of this webinar, students have the freedom to choose a book and not have to worry about being judged for the book that they chose. We know that middle and high school can be a difficult time for some students, and being able to eliminate an insecurity can be monumental. Reading levels can be addressed in such a way that students don't have to see books that might look easier or that might not be as dense as other groups. This also can help gain and build confidence in students. There are additional uses of audiobooks as well. It can help pique interest in nonfiction books. If a student doesn't have to read a biography, but instead they can listen, they might be more likely to pick it up. Student interest is highlighted. Students have the freedom to type in a book, download it, and listen. Many people have smartphones or other devices that allow this to be easily done. If a teacher is absent from school, he or she can leave a clip of the audiobook for the substitute to play so the students don't have to miss instruction. It also works with student absence, as if a student is absent, he or she can get caught up by listening to the pages that are read through an audiobook. And we have already talked about briefly literature circles and how audiobooks can be used in them. A teacher said in relation to audiobooks, they, being students, listen to an audio version of the book. I don't have to worry about confusion, off-task behavior, or mispronunciation. In this instance, this teacher was talking about not being able to work with each small group every day, and this has helped him have successful classroom lessons using audiobooks. So how do you increase teen listening to audiobooks? Ensure that collections are available, have the necessary equipment, and suggest audiobooks that will further classwork. And most importantly, let your students see you listen. We as teachers have a greater influence than we sometimes realize. Now, how can you access audiobooks? Check with your school librarian, your local library, your district library. Look at interlibrary loan. Companies such as Amazon offer books through Audible. There is a company called Epic. It's $4.99 a month, and it offers books range for primary grades, students under 12. There are plenty of options and many free options as well. Check with your school librarian first. See what you have available. In conclusion, there are various ways as an educator to incorporate the use of audiobooks in a classroom. There are advantages to using them to enhance instruction, and today's ever-changing generation needs to be provided with another option to gain exposure to literary works. Keep audiobooks in mind. It has been a pleasure having you for this webinar. Thank you.